In the winter of 1841, the farmers of Salem County, New Jersey, began whispering about the boy who appeared at their doors like a ghost from a snowstorm. Small, fragile, with the face of a child no older than 12. He would beg for shelter, his voice trembling with cold and desperation. What they didn't know was that Joshua Bennett had been 12 years old for 20 years, and behind those innocent blue eyes lay the calculating mind of a predator who had perfected the art of exploiting Christian charity. By the time the killing began, 7 families had already lost everything they owned, and the boy who never grew had vanished into the New Jersey wilderness like smoke. Before we continue with the story of Joshua Bennett and the terror that gripped Salem County, if you're fascinated by dark historical mysteries like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. And let us know in the comments what state you're listening from. We love connecting with our audience across America. Now let's uncover the chilling truth about the predator who hid behind a child's face. The Salem County of 1841 was a patchwork of modest farms and tight-knit communities scattered across the flat, fertile plains of southern New Jersey. Unlike its infamous namesake in Massachusetts, this Salem was a place where Quaker traditions ran deep, where the monthly meetings still governed community life with an iron hand wrapped in gentle words. The county's 20,000 residents lived by the rhythms of harvest and prayer, their wooden farmhouses connected by muddy roads that became impassable lakes during the harsh winters. It was a land shaped by immigration and faith. German Lutheran families worked side by side with English Quakers, while Irish Catholics clustered around the growing industrial towns along the Delaware River. The Mexican-American War had just ended, bringing a sense of national triumph, but also economic uncertainty. As veterans returned home to find their jobs taken by eager immigrants, families hoarded their savings in mason jars, buried in root cellars, or hidden behind loose floorboards, trusting banks about as much as they trusted politicians. The Hartwell family exemplified this cautious prosperity. Samuel Hartwell, a weathered man of 43, had spent 15 years transforming 60 acres of stubborn clay into profitable farmland. His wife, Patience, bore the stern beauty common to Quaker women, her graying hair always perfectly contained beneath her plain bonnet. Their 3 children, Martha, 15, Thomas, 13, and little Rebecca, 8, had known nothing but the security of their father's careful planning and their mother's unwavering faith. Samuel's success came from more than just hard work. He possessed an almost supernatural ability to predict weather patterns, knowing exactly when to plant, when to harvest, and when to sell his grain at the market in Salem City. His neighbors often joked that Samuel could smell money in the wind, and they weren't entirely wrong. By the autumn of 1841, the Hartwells had accumulated nearly $400, a fortune that could buy a man's freedom or destroy his family, depending on who discovered it. That October, as the leaves turned the color of dried blood and the first frost warning sent farmers scrambling to protect their crops, strange stories began circulating through the county's churches and meeting houses. Families spoke in hushed tones about a peculiar boy who had begun appearing at farmhouse doors, always alone, always just as darkness fell. He was small and pale with startling blue eyes and hair so light it seemed almost white in the lamplight. Most disturbing of all, he never seemed to age, leading some to whisper about supernatural explanations they dared not voice aloud. But Joshua Bennett was entirely human and infinitely more dangerous than any ghost. Born in 1809 in the Pine Barrens of central New Jersey, he had stopped growing at the age of 12 due to a rare condition that modern medicine might recognize, but 1840s physicians dismissed his constitutional weakness. By 32, he stood barely 4 feet tall, his face frozen in perpetual youth, while his mind had acquired 3 decades of bitter experience. Joshua had discovered his gift, if one could call it that, during the Panic of 1837, when economic collapse left thousands of families destitute, desperate, and starving. He had approached a Methodist family in Trenton, claiming to be an orphan child whose parents had died of cholera. The family, moved by Christian duty and his pitiful appearance, had taken him in for 3 weeks before he vanished with their life savings and their grandmother's silver jewelry. The experience had been a revelation. People saw only what they expected to see, and what they expected to see was a helpless child in need of protection. Over the next 4 years, Joshua had refined his methods with scientific precision. He learned to modulate his voice to sound younger, to effect a slight stutter that made him seem more vulnerable.